promoting my book. And as a Renaissance, the story is a fairly controversial book that goes a hand grenade also to British scholarship. It's called Leon Battista Alberti. He's a all-time Renaissance guy. The Brits for years said he was the ones who wrote the first one book on painting essay. He didn't. All sorts of great scholars said, hey, Weller, why don't you write it? Take the heat. So the book is out, Cambridge University Press. You might wonder why, if I'm throwing a hand grenade at British scholarship, why Cambridge University Press would print it. And it's a good thing. They said, well, we like everything because British scholarship is essentially Oxford. And anything goes a hand grenade at Oxford and Cambridge will take it. Anyway, my kid, he's probably never going to talk to me again. He just watched this movie. And he's probably like going, okay, that's not my dad. I disown him. And, but anyway, the book, Leon Battista Alberti, is being handled by Alex Heim of Biblioctopus, which is one of the top 3 antiquarian book dealers in the world. And Alex Heim's dad is my son's godfather and a great guy. So I'm shamelessly hawking it. Go buy it, and I'll sign it to you. There's autographs to sign too, all kinds of stuff. So anyway, you guys ask me questions because I don't know.
Well, I'm going to start here. Let's get I'm sorry.
Okay, you want to say what the hell is this movie about?
No, I know.
Look, here's the deal. Let me just throw this at you. The great people that I studied with and learned from, and directors, including David Cronenberg and Kazan, and on and on. This goes to Michael Apted and Sidney Lumet and Nichols and Uta Hagen and whatever. They said, when you're watching something, you're reading something, and I'm trying to get this penetrated into my son. Nail the theme. And the theme is not the story of the art or the subject matter or the whatever. The theme is usually 1 or 2 words that punch the thing you're writing or reading about. So anybody want to tell me 1 word what the theme of this movie is? Huh?
Buttholes.
Come on, man.
Addiction.
What?
Repression.
Addiction, yeah. Addiction about what?
Repression.
Existential dread.
Writing. Loneliness.
Expression.
Addiction, which is what? What does addiction do?
Reward.
What does addiction really do?
Control.
Dependence. Alienation.
Yeah, it alienates what from what? That's right, that's exactly right.
Man from himself.
Yes, from yourself, from yourself, from yourself. Exactly right. This thing is about addiction, it doesn't matter what it is. It's covered over, like the book is, with government stuff, with secret interzones, and it's political. It's definitely political, because you say, well, I don't understand the politics of England. You don't have to. The very political process in itself can become the thing that covers up who you are. Just because you can say, I voted this, I want this, I stand for that, I go for that. You understand what I'm saying? Burroughs is a deep dude. A really deep dude. And
Okay, then I'm going to chime in on this deep.
Go ahead.
You talked about meeting him and working with him for about 6 months for
Yeah.
in your introduction. What was that like? What was that? Obviously, that depth.
Powerful.
Go on.
Powerful and funny.
Okay. How so?
Actors like to think that they are direct to Sons of Anarchy, right? And Sons of Anarchy, the extras in Sons of Anarchy are real deal Hells Angels, real deal Crips, because you want gun qualified extras and so forth, real deal Hispanic biker gangs. Those are the extras in Sons of Anarchy. When the actors would walk on, surrounded by 20 or 30 of these extras, who were fantastic and grateful and got out of San Quentin and had a SAG card. And we'd smoke their dope in the parking lot, come in and shoot their guns, put the gun down and go back out, right? Then the actors would come in. And anybody in this room could go, real deal, phony. Follow?
Yes.
Okay, Burroughs, real deal, phony.
So what was that like for you then? If you
Well, the thing is that actors like to think that we are the guy.
Sure.
We're not the guy. I'm sorry, I did not sell my ass in Tangiers on the street, Right?
Okay.
I'm sorry, I did not shoot dope for 18 years, and then have my friends come over and save my life and write a book.
Yeah.
I'm not that guy.
So then what was it like to be around and the real deal? You said powerful.
Okay, I'll give you an example. Let me just give you this. I'll give you a metaphor. If you take it this way. Because I can say that Burroughs was like inventive and funny and great, whatever. I'm going to give you one example of this. I am a sober guy. I got sober in the 80s, early 80s. And I was around in the street 54 cocaine days. I don't care if you know that or not. My kid already knows it, so what? Burroughs was essentially in his own way a sober guy too. And he was. So one day while I'm shooting, I gotta go to New York. I love your shoes, by the way. I gotta go to New York and just give you this metaphor of what Burroughs really is and was and what the lesson of it is. I'll preface it with this. At the end of Naked Lunch, the book, he says, this is 58, man. He said, listen, drug addiction is a sickness, and as long as it is criminalized, you will never get to the bottom of it.
Right.
Said that in 58, man. As long as and I don't get to the state where they busted you, would give you 10 years in jail for like one joint of marijuana. But the guy said the drugs are a pyramid. It's an economic pyramid. And as long as you constantly, quixotically, he said, go for the top of the pyramid, the kingpin, you are not doing anything. You have to serve and fix and help the junkie on the street, the bottom of the pyramid, or else that pyramid's never going to crumble. Now, he said that a long time ago, right? Okay. So, and that's true, by the way. If we ain't helping the person who's addicted, it's good. So, yours truly, I had a break shooting this. And I go to New York, because I live in New York, and I had to go to the executive committee of a theater that I was on the board of directors for, the City Court building in hoity-toity, put on a suit and all this stuff. I get to New York, and I get this migraine. And I had had a migraine since my 20s. I go screaming through my medicine cabinet because I got like a kidney stones pill, and I realized I left all the meds in Toronto, where I'm shooting.
Right.
And I got nothing in this medicine cabinet. And I pull out some old wisdom tooth. This is in 1991. Now you were shooting. This is 1977 pills for pain. Right? I mean, these are so off the charts. And I take one, and the migraine kind of goes away. And I kind of go to this board next to me.
Yeah.
And I take another one for safety. Yeah. Part of the addict, aren't you understanding, right?
Yeah.
I take it, put another in my pocket, and it's I get in the cab, and everything gets really slow in the cab. And every once in a while there's a little bump. And then I'm going up to the City Court building, and the guy says, security lets me in. And I think, maybe I need the other one, I don't know. I take the other one. And in the meeting, everything everybody says gets very significant, including the waiter asking me if I would like a 7-Up or a Coca-Cola. And then it's my turn to speak, and then I become very articulate, and I speak through this particular haze of whatever this pain pill is. That was my thing anyway, slobber drugs around my thing. That's what we call them in Texas, because your head just falls and you slobber. And then the next day, I wake up with this screaming headache.
Yeah.
And I meet my ex-shrink, who was a guy all dressed in black, and he was really hip, and I said, well, I said, man, I don't know, man, I took this pain pill and I got this hangover. He says, you know what, man, throw the things away. You don't need them, throw them away. I said, yeah, dump them. So I go back to Toronto, and there's Bill Burroughs, who's there doing interviews. And I say, Bill, and Bill Burroughs talk like, you ever seen William Burroughs talk? Yeah, well, he had to talk like he had no lips. That's how Bill Burroughs talk.
Exactly.
And I said, Bill, I got to ask you a question. He goes, yeah, sure. I said, I took this, blah, 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 this, I don't know, this peanut butter or whatever. And I took this pill, and it immediately, I told him what it was. And he said, well, the little blue ones or the big yellow ones? This guy's a pharmaceutical know-it-all, man. And I said, the big yellow ones. He goes, yeah, James says, oh, for 200 milligrams, Merck, maybe, knows who made them.
Yeah.
And I said to him, man, I said, I don't know, man, they stung me and then they got me this hangover. And what are they? Listen, this is the distinction between an actor and the real guy. And he said to me, Peter, what do you mean? What are they? I said, yeah, Bill, I just want to know what they were, what are they? What are they? And he put his face about an inch away from me, and he said, it's junk! And he walked away. And I'm standing there, bitch slapped. I go, I get it, God. I get it. I'm the actor. He's the guy that really did it. I'm messing around with something in my medicine cabinet. He's the guy that almost died 15 times, wrote books about it. He's the real deal. I'm the bummy. So I go track him down. I go, Bill, I get the slap. He says, you do? I hope you do. Because I'll tell you something. And this is true now. He says he's telling me this is 91. I mean, forget all the opioid craze and all that's going on now, right? He said, I'll tell you something, to shoot morphine or heroin is dangerous, but your body has to figure it out because it's organic. He said, but an effing pill is really the end of society. Because the pill, the body doesn't have to figure out. It's bang, right in the back brain. It's way more lethal than anybody shooting anything, even though shooting something looks ugly. The pill is faster death, is what he told me. You got it, Peter? So, yeah, thank you, Bill. And that's my metaphor for Bill Burrows. The last thing from the actor, the next thing is about addiction, this one was good. Okay, let me ask another question. I gotta go sign some autographs so you guys can sign books and sell some stuff.
We're gonna sign it, so don't worry. I just want to talk about the
Okay,
movie.
what do you want? What else?
I wanted to know, okay, you got this script, you got this wild, you read the book in 1968, as you said.
That's right.
Pretty much.
But I begged Cronenberg to do the movie.
You want to tell that story?
Okay, I'm promoting RoboCop 2 at the Cannes Film Festival. I see.
Alright, welcome to everybody. Okay.
And I see Naked Lunch at the Cannes Film Festival, a lot of other film festivals that will have signs for movies that they may make or may not make.
Correct. Zero
And so, that's right, they're not necessarily, and I see 20th Century Naked Lunch. I said, what's that about? They said, we don't know, man, I think they're making the movie, I think Cronenberg is right. So I wrote Cronenberg a letter. And about the time I'm offered a whole lot of money, like a lot of money, to do RoboCop 3, and I don't want to do it. But I just don't want to do it, man. It's just like I never was in this for the money. And by the way, I just said at UCLA the other night, I think that Jordan was there, our wife was there. You know, one of the first law of prosperity, I'm going to tell you guys, I'm going to share it with you guys. And this is in Sanskrit, it's in stone, it's not 21st century psychobabble. First law of prosperity, find out what you really want to do and do that. And notice it doesn't say anything about money or prestige or fame or the hot guy or the hot chick or the Ferrari or the, or whatever. So I'm not in it for the money. I never was in it for the money. I like money, but I was never in it for the money. Thank God I was not in it for the money. I was in it for the gig.
Yeah.
So I see this thing and I write Cronenberg a letter. I said, look, this book is instrumental in my development.
Wow. Okay.
Instrumental
Mm-hmm.
in because I'm part of the counterculture and whatever, and I'm a radical, and I got, my LSD flashbacks and earring holes, and I say, I want to do this movie if you ever cast it. And he calls me up and says, you want to be? I go, sure. And he says, I'm coming to New York. And he came to New York and we talked about Ferraris. That's all we talked about.
When you came to New York, did you have a script at all?
No,
So when the script was presented to you, what was that like?
I didn't care what the script was. Man.
You might
Somebody's
not
offering
care.
you something to go do one of your favorite books. You know, I think I'm going to read the script first. No, you're not.
That's great.
No, you're not going to read the script. You're just going to say, yeah.
Great.
Look, there's a couple of directors hanging out now who are entertaining me to do a new movie with them, and I like these guys so much.
Yeah.
I don't care what the money is, what the script is. I just like the guys. And so I'm not gonna sit down, sometimes somebody offers me something, yeah, I wanna read the script, and where is it?
Right.
That's the thing, where is it? Right? I ain't going to Alaska to get a winner, I'm sorry. But somebody, if it's the vibe of the thing, I just say, yeah, man.
And you were familiar with Cronenberg, obviously. So
I love Cronenberg.
Love Cronenberg before that.
I love his movies, but it's like somebody asked me about Verhoeven. When I went in to see Verhoeven, I ain't read RoboCop. But I knew Verhoeven's movies, I knew that he made personal stories with a huge opera going on behind.
Always was not right.
Yeah, I told him, I said, I want to read your movies. He said, you haven't read it yet. It's not out. I said, I don't care. I love your movies, man.
This is great. I'm
This
just
is
like
what I
really
tell
telling you, this is amazing. You go in for the vibe.
Yeah, man.
You want to connect.
Why not?
I was gonna make
You're gonna say, well, you know what, I'm just not gonna do this unless I do. Bullshit.
So then, it doesn't matter about the script. You're in it because
If you've got the director and you've got the thing and you can put the two together and you know in your soul, this is gonna be something. It's gonna be a diatribe of creativity somewhere.
Yeah.
You just go, yeah.
So then, as an actor, what is then your process? If script aside, you're like, I'm in it. I'm in it to obviously deliver, hopefully a truthful experience, because right, you want it to resonate
Yeah.
with people.
Well, first you get the agent's call. And the agent says, hey, the 20th
Talk to
century.
you about your artistic
No,
process.
the 20th century and Cronenberg wants you to do this movie of Naked Lunch. By the way, they're offering you 10%. 10% of what RoboCop 3 is offering you. Understand that? RoboCop 3 is offering you a house in Beverly Hills. Right?
Right.
Cronenberg is offering you a Motel 6.
You have some charm.
And I say, and so what do I say? I go, man, I'm doing a Motel 6, baby. And thank God Rick Messina said I'm with you. So, like, you know,
Okay, well, now you're gonna have to, or I'm going to, you don't have to, I don't want to say that, but I would like to know then about your artistic process for this role. Because you bring, if I might just compliment you here,
yeah.
a very grounded, like you're a guide to us. For people that might not have read the book, who are like entering into
I'm
this
hanging
story.
with Burroughs.
You're
I'm
hanging with Burroughs.
Right.
But
I'm
let's
reading
look at,
his
what
life
is it?
story. And then, by the way, I have to go away and do another movie before this.
Mhm.
Because this movie ain't going to happen for another 8 months. Once they say, here it's done.
Okay.
I got to go away and do this movie in Malaysia, which was a lot of fun.
Mhm.
I'm hanging with Burroughs and I'm asking him all these questions. I'm hanging with Burroughs and Cronenberg.
Yeah.
And you know, the thing about the surface of this thing, you know, I had enough experience at the surface of addiction to essentially endow Bill Lee
Yeah.
with my own interpretation of addiction. But what I wanted out of Burroughs was the soul of the deal. And the soul of the deal is betrayal. And then finding yourself back and being betrayed again. Because Burroughs was the first person to admit that he killed his wife. And that particular cornerstone, that horror, is the thing that generated his writing all his life.
Yeah.
And he kept coming back and coming back. For Cronenberg to see that event, that horror story, is the seminal event of Burroughs' life, and that he's not going to escape it ever. And his whole life of writing has been trying to write his way out of his greatest sin, which is killing his wife, and he's never going to escape it. For Cronenberg to see that, you know, I'm not going to make the book Naked Lunch because that's a potpourri of stuff that I can't put together. But I can do the arc of the guy trying to run from the event that is driving him,
Yeah.
which is murder.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the thing I talk to Burroughs about endlessly, but not about the event itself, but
Right.
about the desire to escape it, the need to leave it, but it's never going to go away.
Yeah.
And that's all of us. We're trying to run from something.
Absolutely.
You know, look,
Okay.
I did like Alex Hine, who's selling these books. His dad is like my dearest friend in life, man. And he said, when I was talking to him about talking at UCLA, talking here, I said, you know, the things that I've learned, spiritual things that I've learned, you know, I have to learn. And his dad said, yeah, you didn't grow up with Siddhartha Buddha as your roommate, Peter. You know, the guy wasn't feeding you the Tao daily from the age of 5.
Yeah.
You had to fall into crap and go, okay, God, how does that work?
Yeah.
And then God, we learned to process out. And that's what I was asking Burroughs. What was your process out? He said, my process out was always writing, but it would always write me back into the hole. The whole of whatever the thing he's running from, which is killing his wife.
Which again is, to your point, a brilliant choice that ends the like a book ends the movie in a way, like really sticks it to the audience, right? That this is a moment we're reliving it, you're gonna experience it again. So the first time I think as an audience, at least for me, whether you know the story or not, it's shocking. It's like you don't think it's gonna happen and then it does, and then obviously we see it a second time. Which then makes me think again, I just wanna perhaps ground it in your performance, because you're also having to perform up against, by the way, some incredible puppetry in this movie by Chris Wallace and his work.
And also Ian Holm and Judy,
I mean, we're talking,
Judy Davis is not necessarily Miss Lightweight, you know.
I agree. But I do then want to know what it is like for you, and if you want to talk, of course, about acting up against the actors, but then also about these incredible puppets that you're with. Like you bring what was that like?
I don't know. They're treated like human beings. I mean, it was just, wow, what was it like doing being in the suit role now? I don't know. It was just at that time, it was so organically, I was so near to the thing that there was a mugwump sitting next to me, talking to mugwumps was like talking to you.
Greatest compliment of my life. I am a mugwump.
You're a lot better looking, but it's the same deal.
I'll take it.
You're welcome.
Well, okay, so then again, speaking of the other actors in the space, can you then talk about the experience working with them? Again, when you are the character of Burroughs, essentially.
Right, and you do hear Burroughs' stuff in there. There's Burroughs from the book.
Yeah.
Poetry in that thing, man.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
So working up against the other actors, what was that like?
No, they were gifted. I mean, it was gifted. I mean, working with Roy Scheider, I miss him. I did 2 movies with Roy Scheider, and Roy Scheider's a hero. But a hero.
What a scene, what a reveal, by the way, in this movie. You
I know,
guys,
it's fun,
some
right?
of you caught it.
Yeah. And they were all, it was just a remarkable cast. Kind of Spears said, we were supposed to go to Morocco, and then the Gulf War broke out. And we said, okay, we're not going to go to Morocco, because the Gulf War is going on. And Carol Spears said, I'll just build Morocco. And she did, man, and I thought it was gifted. And Cronenberg was like lead Toronto anyway, so he was happy.
All about where you film, right?
Yeah.
That's what you said, all about it.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of something more cogent to say about what the finality of this was, but there is no finality of it. I mean, it's just like the beginning is the end, that Burroughs is never going to escape the horror of his stupidity with a gun and his wife. By the time I left shooting, I felt incomplete. I just like the film. I felt like, okay, there's no resolve to this at all.
Wow.
And the great resolve was, I called up, he's a cat fan, Burroughs, and he talked to me about cats all the time, his favorite cats, and his favorite cat, which is purebred, and he couldn't afford it, was a Korat, and they're from Thailand, and they had 28 years in like tigers, but purebred is very hard to find, and there's only like 2 breeders in the United States. I called up David, and I said, you know what, let's get him a Korat, man. He says, sure, let's do it. The Korat came with something like $5,000, man. This is 30-something years ago. And we got in this Korat kit with the papers and all that.
Yeah.
We flew down to Lawrence, Kansas, and we spent a weekend with Bill, and he gave him this cat, man, and I tell you, and for the 2 days we were there, he would just have this cat, and stroke this cat, and talk to us while he was stroking this kitten. This kitten just absolutely loves it. And it's so weird looking. You ever see a Korat? They're just I mean, they almost look like a Grinch. So, and that was the last time I saw Bill, and but there was no resolve to this film.
Right.
And seeing this movie again, I haven't seen it in 20-something years.
I was just going to ask you that question. What was that like?
It's the same thing. I think like, okay, what was the end of this? I mean, it's like at the end of certain movies that made like. And in Buckaroo, there was a celebration. And it was Buckaroo, it was still with those guys, with Goldblum and Lithgow. I just saw him play and hanging out. And Sherry and I were hanging out with him backstage like 10 days ago.
Yeah.
And all those cats, man. But this, there's no resolve to.
Yeah.
I don't have a completion with it.
Yeah. So it sounds like, again, you're kind of, when you watch it, it's like you're still with it.
Yeah, I'm still with it, man. It just loads me up. It loads me up not only about this, but about, Burroughs and I were talking about all the people we lost to addiction.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm sure everybody here has lost somebody to addiction at some point, man. They're dead, or they're in jail, or they're in a hospital or something.
Yeah.
And so that thing called addiction, not just drugs, but to anything. Sex, money, power, whatever it is, man. This movie wraps me, man. It wraps itself around me. I'm not really looking at myself. I'm just thinking like it's bringing up all this stuff. It's upsetting.
I think it's an upsetting movie for a lot of people. It is an upsetting movie. It's like you're
Yeah, man, it's not Saturday Night Live, man.
And there's elements from the editing to the music. Everything is
The
unsettled.
music, Ornette Coleman, Jordan, what do you think of that soundtrack? Yeah. Ornette, wow.
Yeah. But it's meant to be unsettling.
What did you think of it? Did it unsettle you, or you?
Absolutely. It's a hard movie. It's a movie you sit with. It sits with you. And I think that's what's kind of amazing about this film. It's unlike his other work and your work. It's something that sticks with you. Clearly, there are many people in this audience that have seen the movie before. You know who you are. That keep coming back to this movie too, because I think it reveals something about yourself. When you see yourself in many of the characters, you try to connect. Right? You're like, does this narrative, do I need to let go? I think it's an interesting thing when you have a movie that's about also testing you as a viewer to give yourself over to it. Right? That you cannot follow the narrative, because exactly what you were saying in your introduction, they're kind of, this is about life.
It's about life, man. Listen, when he was writing Naked Lunch, he was aware of the colonial suppression of the indigenous people in North Africa. But he was also, he was also aware of, in spite of the fact that he was against colonial suppression, because this is the Algerian War. You gotta remember, the Battle of Algiers is going on while he's writing this, next door. I mean, the French don't want to leave Algeria, but at the same time, Burroughs is also looking at this, which is going to say, well, what about the Catholic, Jewish, Islamic suppression of women and of gays and whatever? If that government comes in, well, who are they going to suppress?
Right.
This guy is like profound. So everybody goes, no, that's going to bring us freedom. Not necessarily.
No.
And that's how profound Burroughs was. And some people say, well, what does Interzone represent? Interzone represents freedom. Yeah, does it?
I know, it doesn't. But that's what I kind of thought about it. It's subjective. It's personal.
It's totally.
It become yours, but it's also a shared experience. And that, to me, about this film is what makes it so unique. It is a very unique film.
Very unique film, and also the book has all these agents in it. You know what? You're now an agent for like, oh really? I'm for the good guys. Really? Are those the good guys?
Yeah.
Do you know who the good guys are? You're working for? I mean,
We never do.
we
No,
probably
we
don't,
don't.
man. We
Clearly, Peter and I could be up here at this
no,
time.
we could.
We do have to let people go though so that you can sign your book
Yes,
and
I do.
and book
I just want to say, one of the most powerful presidents we had, I mean, just to say, domestically anyway, my dad was his pilot for a while, and I liked it for what he supported in terms of women and blacks, was LBJ. And LBJ didn't know his ass or his elbow foreign policy because we didn't know what we were doing to be on. But something, when he retired and he started his library, he said, this is during Watergate. This is LBJ talking Watergate.
Yeah.
I think that Burroughs was so far ahead of his game.
Yeah.
See, LBJ said, you know what? In 1964, Ramsey Clark came to me and said 8 agents of the CIA got together with 8 people from San Trabacante and they tried to kill Fidel. And they're all dead. And he said, that's horseshit. I would know this. I'm the president. Somebody would tell me if the Mafia got together with the CIA. And then in 1973, 9 years later, when Watergate's going on, when his hair is down, Life magazine asked him that again, and he said, I believe it now. I said, why do you believe it now? They said, why? Because of Daniel Ellsberg papers and Watergate and all this stuff. There's so much stuff that I don't know. There's so much stuff I think I do, I don't know. And then in 2009, the Freedom of Information Act came out, and the CIA admitted it. Yeah, they did try to kill Castro. They're all dead. And I think, God, man, Burroughs, to write about what we think is freedom, and that it is possibly this, like freedom is a disguise for another kind of repression. That's powerful stuff, man.
Powerful.
Yeah. Anyway, I gotta sign some books. I'm gonna stop, but you know what I want to do real quick? I want to answer 3 questions, because somebody's got a question. Yes?
Please make it a question.
Yell it out.
How did you nuance the directions from David and the material from William?
Okay, I confected William by hanging out with him. And pretty soon when I was starting to shoot, I already had a sense of everything I wanted to do. And Cronenberg, like great directors everywhere, doesn't talk a lot. If there's music going on between me and Judy Davis, he wouldn't say anything. You don't want to get in the way of that direction if you're a director. You got somebody with the music of Judy Davis, you don't want to go and say, Miss Davis, here's what you want to do here. No. Because as Elia Kazan said, a great actor or a great actress has more music in them than you could ever talk about. So that's what Cronenberg's gifted at. He would point us in the right direction, he would suggest something else, but he would stay out of our way, shoot his thing, and he was brilliant at it. And by the way, Judy Davis, I did another movie with her called The New Age. And she said we become the Aaron Rodgers of the dysfunctional relationship.
Beautiful thing to me now,
I know, but you know something, the interesting thing about things like, I did a movie with Diane Keaton, she's brilliant. I did a play with Diane Weiss. I did a movie with Judy Davis. Not any of these 3 women are my particular, hottie jam, like, I'm not looking at it like I'm looking at like Jane Russell or Sophia Loren or something like that. Boy, I tell you something, man, those women, I put my car in the neutral, because they got so much music in them, and so much power, and by the way, and so much sexuality in them, without even trying, that I thought, it's extraordinary. Let them drive, man. By the way, that's what everything
Alright, we're
wants.
gonna take one more question, so
Women ought to drive anyway, so that's...
absolutely.
Women
Let's
ought to
right
like
here.
that.
And please make your question.
Yes, I was wondering if you could speak about Burroughs' interpretation of, if you could speak to what Burroughs thought of Cronenberg's interpretation of this material.
He loved it
It's
because-
very involved and it's so personal.
Well, here's the thing. He saw 8 people trying to make scripts out of that book that he really realized you can't do, because anybody read Naked Lunch? Yeah, it's a shotgun full of events, right? It has a sort of a beginning, sort of an end. But he knew that you can't make a completely linear script out of Naked Lunch. But Cronenberg's idea, they talked to Burroughs at length, to make the Burroughs story, right, essentially metaphorically the Burroughs story, using images and themes of Naked Lunch, addiction, cover-up, and self-lying, and all that, Burroughs loved it. He absolutely loved it.
And we do too. Alright, one more round of applause for Peter.